The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, carried by a dust-covered rider who looked as weary as the news he bore. Samuel McKenna stood on his porch, rough hands trembling as he read the careful script. Asterisk, Mr. McKenna. Asterisk, asterisk, I am writing to inform you that Miss Catherine Whitmore will not be arriving as planned. She has reconsidered the arrangement and chosen to remain in Boston. We apologize for any inconvenience. Asterisk, asterisk, sincerely. Asterisk. 3 years. 3 years he'd saved every penny, fixed up the cabin, planted roses by the door roses that would bloom for no one now. At 35, he'd finally gathered the courage to send for a bride. Tired of the echo in his empty house, tired of talking to cattle and stars, he should have known better. Who would want a scarred rancher with calloused hands and a heart that had forgotten how to trust? The wind picked up, scattering dust across the yard. Samuel turned back to his empty house, resigned to another decade of solitude. He didn't see the woman watching from behind the barn. She'd been hiding there since dawn. Having walked the last 5 miles after the stagecoach threw a wheel, her traveling dress was torn, her hair escaped from its pins, and her stomach growled with hunger. But Josephine Joe? Harper had come too far to turn back now. She wasn't Catherine Whitmore. She was nobody, a saloon girl from Denver who'd intercepted. A letter meant for another woman. Seen a chance at a new life and taken it. The real Catherine had indeed stayed in Boston, but Joe didn't know that. All she knew was that Samuel McKenna expected a bride, and she desperately needed to be someone's wife before her past caught up with her. Through the barn slats, she studied him. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that curled at his collar. A scar ran from his left temple to his jowld, silver in the morning light. He moved with the careful grace of a man who'd learned not to waste motion, not to trust easily. Asterisk, he's going to send me away the moment he knows the truth. Asterisk. But she had nowhere else to go. Taking a deep breath, Joe stepped out from behind the barn. Mr. McKenna. He spun around, hand instinctively moving to the revolver at his hip before stopping. His eyes gray as storm clouds widened at the sight of her. I'm Catherine, she lied, the name strange on her tongue. Catherine Whitmore. From Boston, he stared at her for a long moment, taking in her disheveled appearance, the dust on her cheeks, the way she swayed slightly on her feet. The agency said you weren't coming. I changed my mind. The lie came easier this time. Sent a second letter, but I suppose it didn't arrive in time. I'm sorry for the confusion. Something flickered in his eyes. Doubt maybe, or hope. He stepped down from the porch, moving closer, but maintaining a careful distance. You walked from town? The stagecoach broke down. I was eager to arrive. In those shoes? He glanced at her delicate boots, completely unsuitable for ranch land. Joe lifted her chin. I'm stronger than I look, Mr. McKenna. For the first time, the corner of his mouth twitched almost a smile. Samuel. Call me Samuel. Samuel, she repeated, and something warm unfurled in her chest. He studied her another moment, then nodded toward the house. You must be hungry. Come inside. The kitchen was simple, but clean. Everything in its place. Samuel moved with surprising gentleness for such a large man, setting out bread, cheese, and a pitcher of fresh milk. The milk's from Buttercup, he said, almost shy. Best cow in 3 counties. But be careful, he set a glass before her. Don't spill it. She's particular about waste, and honestly, so am I. Every drop counts out here. Joe nodded solemnly, though her hand shook with hunger as she reached for the glass. She'd been living on scraps for days, running from Denver, from the man who claimed to own her, from a life that had nearly destroyed her. The milk was cold, rich, perfect. She drank too quickly, and her trembling fingers betrayed her. The glass slipped. Time slowed. Milk splashed across the wooden table, pooling, dripping onto the floor. Joe froze, terror flooding through her. In the saloons, spilled drinks meant beatings. Wasted food meant going without. She'd learned to be careful, but hunger and exhaustion had made her clumsy. I'm sorry, she gasped, jumping up. I'm so sorry. I'll clean it. It's all right. Samuel's voice was calm. but she saw the tightness around his eyes. Accidents happen. No, you don't understand. A panic made her reckless. Without thinking, Jo dropped to her knees beside the table. Before Samuel could stop her, she leaned down and began licking the spilled milk from the wooden surface. The action was desperate, humiliating, born from years of never having enough. She lapped at the puddles like a starved animal. Tasting wood polish and dust along with the cream, not caring, just desperate not to waste what she'd been given. "Stop!" Samuel's voice cracked. "Catherine, stop." But she couldn't. Tears streamed down her face as she tried to capture every drop, her tongue working frantically across the table's surface. This was it, he'd throw her out now. No, she wasn't a proper Boston lady. No, she was just trash from the saloons who didn't deserve. Strong hands caught her shoulders, pulled her up. Samuel knelt before her, his face stricken. "What did they do to you?" he whispered. Jo couldn't answer. Sobs racked her body as she tried to pull away, but he held her steady, not harsh, just firm. "Look at me." His thumb brushed a tear from her cheek. "What kind of life makes a woman afraid to spill milk?" "I'm not who you think I am," she gasped between sobs. "I'm not Catherine Whitmore." "I'm nobody," I lied. "I'm sorry, I'll go. I was so hungry and scared. I thought maybe He pulled her against his chest, and she felt the steady beat of his heart through his shirt. "You're not nobody. You hear me? You're not nobody," she cried harder, clutching his shirt. He smelled like leather and sunshine and safety things she'd never thought she'd have. "What's your real name?" he asked softly. "Josephine." "Jo." "Jo." He tested it, nodded. "That's a good name. Strong name. You're not. You're not angry?" He pulled back enough to look at her face. "I'm angry at whoever taught you to lick spilled milk off a table. I'm angry at whatever put that fear in your eyes. But at you?" He shook his head. "No, Jo, I'm not angry at you, but I lied. We all got secrets. All got things we're running from." His fingers traced the scar on his face. "You think you're the only one who's ever been desperate?" Samuel helped her to a chair, poured fresh milk, careful, this time to fill the glass only halfway. He sat across from her, patient as she sipped slowly. "Tell me," he said simply. So she did. The words poured out like water through a broken dam. Her father's death when she was 15, her mother's illness, the debts. The saloon owner who'd bought those debts bought her asterisk essentially. The years of serving drinks and dodging hands and saving every penny she could hide. The night she'd heard two men talking about Samuel McKenna's mail-order bride, how she'd stolen the letter from Catherine's room at the boarding house, taken her place on the westbound stage. "I know it was wrong," she finished, voice hoarse. I wanted a chance at something better. When I saw your letters to Catherine, the way you wrote about the ranch, about wanting a partner, not just a pretty face, I thought maybe I could be that person. But I'm not. I'm just a used-up saloon girl who doesn't even know how to drink milk without spilling." Samuel was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, walked to the window, gazed out at the land that stretched endlessly under the morning sun. "My father was a drunk," he said finally. "Beat my mother till she couldn't take it anymore. She left when I was 12. Left me with him." He touched his scar. "This was his wedding gift to me, told me. No woman would ever want a marked man." Maybe he was right. Catherine certainly didn't. He turned back to her. "I worked myself near to death building this place, trying to prove him wrong. Sent for a bride, thinking maybe if she didn't know me first, didn't see the scars inside and out. But you know what I realized when I saw you standing by my barn?" Jo shook her head. "I was relieved. Relieved that Catherine hadn't come. Because a Boston lady who'd never known hardship, she wouldn't understand why I wake up screaming some nights. Wouldn't understand why I count every penny twice, save every scrap. But you..." He moved closer. "You understand being hungry? You understand being afraid. You understand fighting for better, even when the world says you don't deserve it? Samuel, I don't care if your name's Catherine or Jo or anything else. I don't care where you came from. All I care is that you're here now." He knelt before her again, taking her hands. Stay, please. Not because you've got nowhere else to go, but because... Because I think we could build something good together. Something real. Joe searched his face, looking for the trick, the trap. But all she saw was loneliness that matched her own, hope as fragile as spun glass. I don't know how to be a proper wife, she whispered. I don't know recipes or fancy stitching or... I don't need proper... I need honest. I need someone who won't run when things get hard. His hands tightened on hers. Can you give me that? Yes. The word came out fierce, certain. Yes, I can give you that. They were married 3 weeks later. In a simple ceremony with only the circuit preacher and 2 ranch hands as witnesses. Joe wore a dress Samuel had ordered from town, nothing fancy, but new and clean in hers. When the preacher asked if anyone objected, Samuel's hand found hers. Squeezed tight, no one objected. That night, in the bedroom that smelled of cedar and sage, Samuel was gentle as rain. He traced every scar on her body, the ones from the saloon owner's belt, ones from her own desperation, and kissed them like blessings. You're safe now, he whispered against her skin. No one's ever going to hurt you again. Joe believed him. The seasons turned. Spring brought wild flowers and a vegetable garden that Joe tended with fierce pride. Summer meant long days working side by side, Samuel teaching her to ride, to rope, to read the weather and cloud formations. Autumn arrived with its harvest, their root cellar full. Their partnership solid as stone, but the past has a way of finding you. Even in the middle of nowhere, the man arrived on a cold November morning. His horse lathered with sweat from hard riding. Joe was hanging laundry when she saw him approaching, and her blood turned to ice. Marcus Donnelly, the saloon owner from Denver. She dropped the wet sheet, ran for the house, but he was already dismounting, already smiling that cold smile she remembered too well. Double quotes, hello, Josephine. Took me a while to track you down. My name is Joe McKenna now. She lifted her chin, though her hands shook. I'm a married woman, married. He laughed. That's rich. You think a piece of paper changes what you are? What you owe me. I don't owe you anything. $500 says different. Your daddy's debts, remember? Plus interest. Plus the cost of tracking you down. He stepped closer. Unless you'd rather work it off the old way, ... Get off my land. Samuel's voice cut through the morning air like a blade. He stood in the doorway, rifle in hand, eyes hard as flint. Marcus turned, assessed him with a gambler's calculation. You must be the husband. McKenna, right? Let me explain the situation. I know the situation. Samuel moved down the steps, rifle steady. I know who you are, what you did. My wife told me everything. Your wife. Marcus laughed again. She'll tell you how many men she... The rifle shot echoed across the valley. The bullet kicked up dust an inch from Marcus's boot. Next one won't miss, Samuel said calmly. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get on your horse and ride away. You're going to forget Joe exists. Because if I see you again, if I hear you've been asking about her, if you so much as whisper her name in a saloon somewhere, I'll hunt you down myself. He smiled, and it was terrible. I've got friends among the Lakota. They've got real interesting ways of dealing with men who hurt women. Marcus paled. You can't just... I can. I am. Samuel chambered another round. Your choice. Leave vertical or horizontal. For a moment, violence hung in the air like smoke. Then Marcus backed toward his horse, hands raised. This isn't over, he snarled. Yes, Samuel said quietly. It is. They watched him ride away, dust swirling in his wake. When he was just a speck on the horizon, Joe's knees gave out. Samuel caught her, held her as she shook. He'll come back, she whispered. Men like him always come back. Let him try. Samuel's arms tightened around her. This is our land, Joe, our home. Nobody takes that from us. But Marcus didn't come back. Winter arrived with its blanket of snow, sealing the ranch in peaceful isolation. Joe learned to bake bread, her first attempts brick hard, but improving with practice. Samuel taught her to read better, patient with her stammering over difficult words. In the evenings, they sat by the fire, her head on his shoulder, his fingers combing through her hair. "I love you," she said one night, the words surprising them both. She'd thought herself too damaged for love, too broken to feel anything that pure again. Samuel's hand stilled. "Say it again. I love you, Samuel McKenna. Love your scars and your stubbornness and the way you count. The milk drops, but never count the ways you make me feel whole." He turned her face up to his, and she saw tears in his eyes. "I love you too. Joe, love your strength and your survival and the way you lick spilled milk like it's precious, because you're right. It is precious. Everything about this life we're building is precious." They made love slowly that night, mapping each other's bodies like territory they'd defend forever. Spring came again, and with it, a letter Joe's hands shook as she opened it. Recognizing the Boston postmark? But it wasn't from Marcus or anyone else from her past. Asterisk, Dear Mrs. McKenna. Asterisk, asterisk. I am writing to inform you of an inheritance from your late aunt, Margaret Harper. As her only surviving relative, you are entitled to her estate, valued at approximately $3,000. Asterisk. Joe read it 3 times before the words sank in. An aunt she'd barely known, her mother's sister who'd moved east years ago. $3,000, enough to pay any debt, real or imagined. Enough to truly be free. She found Samuel in the barn, showed him the letter. He read it, whistled low. "That's a lot of money." "It's freedom," Joe said softly. "Real freedom. We could pay off your loans on the ranch, maybe buy that extra pasture land you've been eyeing. We." Samuel smiled. "I like the sound of that." "Always we," Joe promised. "No more running, no more hiding. Just us, building something good." He kissed her then. There in the barn, with hay in their hair and sunlight streaming through the slats. When they broke apart, he was grinning. "You know what this calls for?" "What?" "Fresh milk. From Buttercup." And this time, he winked, "You can spill all you want. We can afford it now." Joe laughed, the sound bright as birdsong. "Maybe just a little spill." "For old time's sake. For old time's sake," he agreed, taking her hand.